Alright, this is for our media influence assignment, and my two stories are on Sergeant Robert Bales and Logan Malger. It's two very different stories, I can say, because one, Robert is the, I would say, bad guy in the story, and he's in his story he's locked up for life right now, and Logan Malger was an innocent man, an innocent Green Beret who lost his life to two Navy SEALs. Now, what I'm going to do is tell you why these two stories are important in today's society. Everybody knows with our, our recent election and our government's corruption and our things behind the scenes have been going on, and a lot of things have been covered up, and just a lot of corruption within our officials and servicemen who are supposed to be for the benefit of us. So, first off, I'm going to tell you about Robert Bales. Robert Bales went to Ohio State University, and he's from Norwood, Ohio. What Robert Bales did was very, very wrong. He injured 16 people and killed 6. He was armed with 2 firearms, and he was married to Carolyn Bales, and he's now serving life in prison. Now, he pleaded guilty to these acts, which is obvious because there was no other accuser in these things, and there's just no way he could get out of this. Now, he's been locked up for some time now, and the actual date that this occurred was on March 11, 2012, and it's known in Kandahar, Afghanistan as Kandahar Massacre Day. Now, it took everyone in the city and the military by storm. They couldn't understand why he did it, and he blamed it on my mind was consumed by war, and he really blamed it on mental things afterwards. And he actually spoke about it in an article here recently in New York Times, and said actually that his service, his time in prison actually made him realize that what he did was wrong, and he made an appeal, and he just wanted to get his word out, saying that his 4 years in the military and his couple of services in Afghanistan made him believe that these things were right, and it made him. He had quotes saying that he just lost all compassion for Afghans and people who lived over there and people of that culture. So obviously his request was denied, and he's still in prison right now, serving an entire life sentence. And many people have reported and just don't understand why he's done this. And he actually reported the letter to his head sergeant leader, and who actually brought these charges down upon him, and they passed it up, and it's the review board and everything, and everybody was a unanimous decision to vote no on his case. Now, I'm going to tell you about another, where I mentioned him before, but his name is Logan Malger. Now, both of these men, let me show you Robert Bales again. Both of these men look like two very, very serving men in the military, but of course you know about the first one. I've already informed you of him and his very, very wrong tactics. But now I'm going to tell you about Logan Malger. Now, Logan Malger is no longer living, and his incidents actually happened very, 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 very not too long ago. So I messed those words up, but his incident happened on June 4th, 2017 in Mali. This was his second time going to Mali, and he actually talked to his wife a couple weeks before this incident happened, saying that he didn't feel too good about some of his servicemen. Now, he was staying in Mali for some time now. He roomed with two SEALmen who were actually in suspicion of his murder. This case is actually still going on right now, so there's not much information. No names have been given of the accusers and everything. The only name we know is the person who no longer has his life, which is unfortunate. Now, he was 34 years old. He actually went to Texas Tech, and he's from Texas. He was a very known man around Texas. He had a wife and son, that was actually just celebrated at his homecoming at his old high school to serve his life. And there actually were no charges have been sent to the SEALsmen that were actually sent out of Mali and the investigation is still going on. It's clearly a homicide. The autopsy ruled that it was homicide by strangulation, and they know exactly how his death was. He wasn't in no combat, and they have initially tried to say that it was because of death by horseplay of alcohol, saying that they were drunk and they were just playing around, and somehow he just was dead. But that obviously was not the case. They can't pinpoint exactly who it was, but they can put people in the rooms and stuff like that. So the investigation is still going on very, very long. So, and when you compare these two stories, you have to think, well, both of them are very different, but they relate in this way. People who in the service are supposed to live to a standard that are higher than regular citizens. They're servicing the people who are on these lands, and they're just supposed to, they're supposed to be greater. They're supposed to have moral values that we're supposed to live up to ourselves, really. But to a higher extent, of course. And when you think about what happened to Logan Malger, he was murdered because he discovered that money was being pocketed by them, maybe by these salesmen for servicemen who were over in Mali. So they were basically extorting funds from the military, and they offered him some money so he would keep quiet and not say anything about it. And Logan wasn't having. He was an honest man who just graduated college and was making his way throughout the military. He just couldn't do it. So he denied the funds, and obviously this is what has happened to him. You know, we don't know. That's the story that's been reported, that they believe that the two salesmen had going on, which is why they took his life. Now, when you think about stuff like that, and then when you think about Robert Bales, that means that there are corrupt people within our military. There are people who don't really almost lose themselves within the military, who have been in there so long, they're looking for ways to benefit themselves, and people end up losing their life, and people end up, innocent people. Now, think about Robert Bale's situation. You can think about him as and say, some of those innocent women and children had no idea who he was, no idea why they're in war, no idea about anything. So why is it okay for him to take their lives? It's just not right. And when you think about Logan Malger, his son has to grow up, you know, thinking, my father did the right thing but still lost his life. You know, how is that going to affect him? How is he going to take that? You just never know. So, all we can do is, I think the military needs to really, it's almost hard to figure out how people are going to react to battles and stuff like that, but I think we need a lot more mindfulness and mental stability in our servicemen, because Logan did, if you think about Logan, he did the right thing. You know, there have been so many articles about the man he was. He's been celebrated on local news local news channels around his area for the things he's done within the community. And it's just for him to lose his life like this, for two people who were enlisted the same time as him and are supposed to be living up and fighting for the same causes as him, is just utterly ridiculous. And Robert Bale's boat, I don't believe that his eight-page letter that he wrote to his commanders and stuff like that to appeal his sentencing, I think they did the right thing by not letting this go through, because this is obviously just, he killed and injured a total of 20 people, 20 Afghans and Iraqis, which was exactly his words. He wasn't even relating to these people as people. He was just saying their race and putting them in like one category, which shows he doesn't feel sorry for these actions. He just doesn't want to stay in prison for the rest of his life. And who knows, if they let him out, will he commit these same things, or will he try and make a better person of himself? We will never know. But you just have to really think about, how can this affect future people's decisions into going to the military? You know, well, some people go into the military trying to find economic, you know, stand-ons, and some people go in there really wanting to do the right things, are going to live by the book and want to come home back to their family, but don't get that chance, like Logan Malger. He informed his wife. He said he's going to tell her everything when he got back home. He never got the chance to do that. So he's never going to be able a chance to get to speak to his wife, his son, and those many families that have lost loved ones in Afghanistan, never going to see them again. How are they going to feel when they see other officers walking the streets of Afghanistan? They're not going to feel the same. They're not going to feel protected. They're not going to feel, of course they're not going to feel protected. It's an opposing country's military walking their streets, but that just adds more attention to what we already have between these countries. And I feel as though we just need to change this. And yeah, so this has been two very, very emotional stories that we need to bring more attention to, especially the more recent one in Logan Melgar. I really hope whoever took his life gets the justice they deserve. And this has been your media influence assignment for number 6 with Robert Bales and Logan Melgar.